This man's electricity bill went from $100 to $281 in a single month. He didn't buy anything new. He didn't use anything more. He didn't change a single thing inside his house. Something changed outside it. About 30 miles away, in a windowless building the size of a shopping mall, a new tenant had moved into his power grid. It never sleeps. It pays a fraction of what it should, and it is hungry in a way nothing in the history of electricity has ever been hungry before. And here's the part nobody told him. By the time his bill tripled, the people who caused it had already promised, on paper, that this wouldn't happen to him. This isn't inflation. This is a transfer, and once you see how it works, you will never read your power bill the same way again. When your bill climbs, you're told a familiar story. Inflation, fuel prices, a cold winter, a hot summer. All real, all true, and all of it is hiding the fastest growing line item on the American grid, one that has almost nothing to do with you. The artificial intelligence boom doesn't run on code, it runs on electricity. Every answer, every image, every model is a physical event happening inside a data center, a building packed wall to wall with servers that run at full power 24 hours a day and throw off so much heat they need their own power plants just to stay cool. And the scale is the part that breaks your brain. According to Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory, data centers could consume around 12% of all the electricity in the United States by 2028. 12%. And the demand is climbing so fast that one industry analysis from Bloom Energy projects U.S. data centers will go from about 80 gigawatts of demand to 150 in just 3 years. That's like bolting the entire electricity appetite of Spain onto the American grid in the time it takes to finish high school. Now ask the obvious question: if a whole new country's worth of demand suddenly shows up on the grid, who builds the power lines, the substations, the upgrades to carry it? And more importantly, who pays for them? Here's the quiet machinery, and it's the most important thing you'll hear today. When a utility upgrades the grid to feed a giant new customer, it usually doesn't bill that one customer for the whole cost. It spreads the cost across everyone on the system, every household, every meter, including yours. A Harvard researcher named Ari Pesco has a name for this. He calls it a cost shift. In plain English, you are subsidizing someone else's artificial intelligence. You never signed up for it. You'll never use that data center, but its expansion shows up quietly as a few more dollars on your bill, and then a few more, because the rules were written for a world where no single customer could move the entire grid. That world is gone. You want to understand how desperate the hunger is? In Pennsylvania, there's a nuclear plant called 3 Mile Island, the site of the most infamous nuclear accident in American history. It was shut down, closed, done. You do not haul a plant like that back from the dead to shave a few dollars off a budget. You only do it for something enormous. So what could possibly be worth it? In 2024, Microsoft answered that question. It signed a deal, roughly $16 billion over 20 years, to bring 3 Mile Island back to life, specifically to power its AI data centers. They've even rebranded it, the Crane Clean Energy Center. 835 megawatts aimed at one company's servers, backed by $1 billion federal loan. And they're not alone. In a single year, tech companies have signed over 10 gigawatts of new nuclear capacity. Google, Amazon, all of them, racing to lock up power plants like they're buying real estate. Because for them, electricity isn't a utility bill anymore. It's the whole game. Now here's where it stops being a theory, because the utility's own numbers say it out loud. In Virginia, the data center capital of the world, the power company Dominion runs the math on its own future. And in its 2025 long-term plan, Dominion projects that a typical home's monthly bill could climb from about $159 today to as much as $381, more than double. Their forecast, in their filing, And then they did something that gives the whole game away. Virginia regulators created an entirely new category of customer, a special rate class just for data centers, and ordered them to cover at least 85% of the grid capacity they reserve. Think about what that admission means. You don't build a wall to keep out a problem that doesn't exist. The cost shift was real enough that the law had to chase it. So in March of 2026, the White House rolled out something called a ratepayer protection pledge. The big tech companies promising they'd pay for the power infrastructure their data centers demand, so it wouldn't land on ordinary families. Sounds like the happy ending, but here's the catch. A pledge is not a law, and reporting on it found the same promise had, in their words, few specifics and little in the way of teeth. So who actually forces them to keep it? Right now, nobody. A promise you can't enforce is just a sentence. And remember, while the lawyers argue over the wording, the buildings are already going up. The power lines are already being run. The costs are already moving onto your bill tonight. By the time the rules finally arrive, the concrete is dry, and you're the one left holding the invoice. Step back, because this is bigger than your power bill. What you're watching is one of the oldest patterns in economics in a brand new costume. Whenever a powerful new player can take its profits privately and push its costs onto a public that can't say no, it will. Railroads did it a century ago. The banks did it in 2008. Profits kept private, losses handed to the public. And now the most valuable companies on earth are doing it with the one thing every home, hospital, and school absolutely cannot live without: electricity. But here is what makes this version almost impossible to fight. The genius of it is the quiet. There's no villain at your door, just a number on a statement, ticking up, while 30 miles away a building with no windows runs hot through the night, thinking on your dime. So the next time someone tells you your power bill is just inflation, you'll know the rest of the sentence. Artificial intelligence doesn't run on code. It runs on electricity. And right now, quietly, it's running on yours. The question isn't whether AI will change your life. It already has. It's on your next bill. The only question left is whether anyone makes them pay their share before the rest of us pay it for them.